Hello, everyone. I was already planning a shotgun build by the time that a comment came up about it, though I do appreciate the comment. I rarely get comments on my recordings, so I do hope that more will come in the future because I can come up with a lot of ideas, but I really need to hear what people are looking for when it comes to theory crafting. There are plenty of games where I theory craft, so the more you comment and ask for a build, the more that I will get the gears turning and try to figure out something. Unfortunately, though, for Cyberpunk, I'm going to be running out of builds after this, I think, because Cyberpunk really didn't do a good job with variety, in my opinion. A lot of other games get the weapons right, but Cyberpunk really did not do a very good job. A couple glaring examples is the LMG and the rifles. So, as far as I know, there is no legendary LMG blueprint in the game. There's a blue, but not legendary, which makes it so you can't really do an LMG build. Even then, the range probably is not going to be that good. If the LMG is being treated like the Ajax or the Copperhead, then its range isn't going to be good. Honestly, those should have their ranges adjusted because today's infantry in any military has a standard engagement range of 100 to 200 yards with their ARs. Even the shorter barreled M4 with its 14.5-inch barrel, US infantry still have an engagement range of 200 yards. If it's beyond 200 yards, they will usually have a designated marksman in place or sniper coverage. With that in mind, the SOR-22 is a classic example of, I guess you can say, a blunder. The SOR-22 is a rifle, a power rifle, but it uses sniper ammo. If it used rifle ammo, it'd be perfectly okay, and you could treat it like a real designated marksman, but unfortunately it uses sniper ammo, which makes it completely useless. Because it uses sniper ammo, that means you're taking up a rarer ammo type. Even then, other sniper rifles like the 5.0 and Overwatch do far more damage in a single bullet and make those sniper bullets count. That's just my little rant. But anyways, let's talk about the builds. To do that, I'm going to have to go over some information, starting with less lethal. I've mentioned in my prior recording, but I will go ahead and remind you that when it comes to less lethal, the only ways that you can really do it is with packs, the Cyberware mod for your crochet optics, or using your fists. Less lethal stays less lethal if you don't dismember the target. That presents a problem because I have noticed with the baseball bat and hammer, they do on occasion dismember targets. The electric baton alpha and beta seem to be the only blunt weapon that does not dismember. I've used the electric batons through 2 playthroughs now, and I have never seen them dismember a target. But I have for sure seen the hammer and the baseball bat dismember a target. For that reason, this build is choosing the baton, and we'll get more into that in just a little bit. But moving into shotguns now. There's different shotgun types in the game. You have your M2038 Tactician, which is really a versatile shotgun. It has 8 shells in the tube, decent fire rate, decent spread, and good damage. Then you have your Carnage, which has a delay in between the pumps that make it kind of aggravating to use. It also has a pretty atrocious reload time for a shotgun. Then you have the Crusher. The Crusher is a magazine-fed shotgun that reloads really quick, has a pretty fast fire rate, good spread, and decent damage. Then finally you have your Smart Shotgun and Double Barrel Shotguns, both power and tech. That's the shotguns in a nutshell. Let's talk about why I'm not going to be going over the Smart Shotgun. There is a iconic Smart Shotgun in the game. I'm not sure how to pronounce this one, so I'll call it the Chong. The Chong is a smart shotgun that has 4 volleys worth. It's kind of like a rocket launcher with MIRVs. It fires a volley of smaller projectiles that do cluster up on a target. While it can do a lot of damage, the problem is you only get 4 volleys, and you can't guarantee that all of the projectiles are hitting the torso. The perks for the shotgun, well, and LMG, do state that it does more damage if you're hitting the torso. Because you can't guarantee all the projectiles are hitting the torso, you're missing out on some damage. Even if you have the Kuroshi optic for 50% headshot damage, there is a chance the projectiles will hit the limb, where you don't have any bonuses to it. You could fix that with perks, I guess, but at that point, it's really not worth it. Honestly, I just don't see a point in the Chong. So that's out of this build. Due to the Carnage's delay in pumps, it's out of this build as well. There is an iconic Carnage called the Mox. While the Mox does have a very tight spread for a shotgun, the problem is that all shotguns have fairly short range. It's just barely better than a melee weapon, so there's no need for accuracy on it, because at that point you're just aiming torso and you're going to hit pretty easily. So yeah, the Mox is out of this build too. This build will not be using Mox or Chong. That brings us to the decision of this build. This build will be using either a legendary Crusher or Tactician. There are schematics for both in the game. The difference between the two is the fire rate, reload speed, and damage, at least initially. Then when you get into crafting, the differences become even more, even more, I guess you could say. That's because the Crusher has a scope slot, but not a mod slot. Tactician has a scope slot and a mod slot. That means the Tactician is better for loading packs on it, for that less lethal option. Crusher, because it doesn't have a mod slot, really it's only good for one thing, destroying. There are gigs and side missions that do specifically state not to kill the target. For that reason, the Tactician would be better because it can mod packs. Be sure to not take the perks that specifically state dismemberment in the Annihilation tree, and you'll be good. Okay, now that we've talked about the different shotguns, let's get into the stats. The website I've been using for calculating my builds has changed. It now has detailed passive stats to each attribute, and now tells you which perks require what stat. And it's really awesome at how much they've changed. It's been a great tool, and I'm really glad to have it. Anyways, I applied the lessons learned from the 2 prior builds. In the prior builds, I noticed it was possible to take away 2 tech attribute and apply them elsewhere. I had to do that for this build because shotguns have to be treated like melee weapons, meaning you need very good durability to withstand the punishment for using them. To do that, I need 20 body, because you get the 10% damage reduction perk in the body attribute perks and things. That 10% from athletics can stack with the paint editor cyberware for 20% damage reduction. That's very much needed with this build. Unlike my last 2 builds, it's not going to be as flexible due to that. It does stick to one stat build philosophy. The only thing that's really changeable with this build is the perks you use. You can use stealth in any 3 of my builds, including this one, or not if you don't want to. Stealth does require patience and careful scouting of a particular area. If you don't have the patience for that, then stealth is completely optional. Just take assassin and be done with it. That's how I've designed all of my builds, is to make sure that they work with a person regardless of their preference. But I've created a Google document for it. I will put it in the description for you. Real quickly, I want to go ahead and let you know that I have changed the universal document as well as the other two build documents. That's because this build, the shotgun build that is a drastic shift from what I'm used to doing. In the two prior builds, they are entirely reliant on the katana as their final stand slash close quarters weapon. Because this build has shotguns, it's already got a close quarters combat element to it. The melee weapon in this particular build doesn't really matter too much because by the time that the target gets in your face, they should already be on fumes. Really, you just need to finish them off after that point. Shotguns have a tremendous amount of damage potential, even more so than the snipers. So I highly doubt that you'll run into any trouble with a shotgun and baton. But if it was the other builds, then I would be more concerned because at that point a katana would definitely be necessary due to the fact that katanas have a higher damage potential than blunt. It's crazy to think that the 20% crit, which is Blessed Blade, is that much of a game changer. Unfortunately, that is the case because if you look at Cold-Blooded, you'll see this perk right here, Cold and Calculating. It specifically states that you have a chance to get Cold Blood stacks on a critical. So yes, that's why it has more damage potential, not just in the flat crit chance from the perk, but also because it's got more of a chance to trigger Cold Blood than Blunt would. Again, though, I'm not too concerned because this build already does a lot of raw damage. At that point, crit is just icing on the cake. That's the build update in a nutshell. That's all I have for this recording. Thanks for listening.